All right, let's get into it. So I'm going to be reading from two articles. Let me start with the first one. Okay. So in this article, I'm not going to be reading the whole article. I'm just going to take only the relevant portions because it'll bring about a bigger context of it. So, the most vexing obstacle for David Ellison and Paramount's planned acquisition of Warner Bros. Discovery looks to be David Zaslav, though probably not for long. As of now, Zaslav is moving ahead with a somewhat still fuzzy plan unveiled this past summer to split Warner Bros. Discovery in half by next spring to free the studio in streaming of several billion in debt and free-falling cable assets. At the same time, word on the Burbank streets is that Netflix or Amazon could be looking to add some DC or Game of Thrones to their balance sheet. Yet, a spring split sounds optimistic to some. It would also back into a June 2026 annual shareholder meeting that could be rough if the split isn't accomplished by then or pushed out. I think if you just look at David Zaslav's performance, he's pretty much failed shareholders every step of the way, right? Says an insider. Servicing debt, bad decisions, eroded billions and billions in market cap since Discovery basically took over Warner Brothers 3 years ago, says one East Coast banker with deep Hollywood ties who was wary of the upside of a Warner Brothers Discovery split. Quote, my perspective is they break up the company and they figure out how to get some more equity into it. Even then, the performance will lead to a bad balance sheet over time again. Yet, as Team Ellison circles, the quick-footed Warner Bros. Discovery CEO supposedly has attracted the interest of Amazon and Netflix as potential buyers, or at least that's the word on Warner Bros. Boulevard or Warner Boulevard. However, off the lot, there's skepticism that either House of Bezos or Ted Sarandis and Greg Peters run streamer are truly interested. Amazon got stung by buying MGM with little to show for it, and the FTC just made them pay up to $2.5 billion civil penalty. One studio, not Paramount source, says buying Warner Brothers anytime soon doesn't fit with their MO. Amazon did not respond to Deadline's request for comment on a possible Warner Brothers Discovery purchase or interest. When you have the kind of performance that Zaslav has had, he hasn't had a whole lot of options, the money man adds. Number one, it's all boxed in. Number two, there are a lot of companies that want to buy declining assets. Number three, shareholders, therefore, will be much more focused on certainty than some fiction of fake buyers and corporate splits. The separation will follow years of retooling after Discovery's rocky $43 billion merger with Warner Media. That was such a smaller company buying a much bigger one, resulting in about $50 billion in debt. Shareholders like the split plan, but they may like a hefty cash payout better. How much a pre-split Warner Bros. Discovery is really worth is a question under debate among the town's openly cash-infused player Paramount and its almost certain acquisition target. While specifics are fluid, no surprise Paramount and Ellison have arrived at a figure around $60 billion, while Warner Bros. Discovery and Zaslav have another, higher one. Zaslav is playing the odds to get the best deal he can on his timeline with the biggest bidder in hand. An industry insider told Deadline, viewing the split as a Hail Mary but one with a chance of success. Even with a pre-pandemic box office level of $4 billion this year so far for the Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi-led movie studio, Zaslav and CFO Gunnar Windefels have had to parry around to pay down the debt in June. In June, the debt stood at $35.6 billion. In quarter after quarter, many missing targets, Zaslav and Windefels, expressed surprise at just how bad things were at Warner's. Once they got a good look under the hood, they said that it really hadn't been possible until the deal formally closed in June 2022. Among the challenges they found, HBO worked in silos, was overstaffed, streaming was bleeding cash, and there was superhero fatigue. Warner Bros. Discovery took a series of big write-downs for content, a huge one for cable, lost the NBA, created chaos at the viewer bleeding CNN, and flip-flopped over and over DTC branding of Warner Brothers of HBO and Max. All right. So yes, even with the fact that Warner Bros. Discovery no longer offers forward-looking guidance in earnings reports, the company outlook is better. In relative terms, and hoping for a further lift if one becomes two, the split has become a tonic for the company's stock, boosting it past $17 a share, up from the spring doldrums below $8. But it has languished at a fraction of the level where it started in April 2022. Lifted from Comcast's playbook, the idea of a split, aside from whether it has ever actually happens, provided a jolt. The company is taking streaming international and is having a 2025 box office run with a Minecraft movie, Sinners, Weapons, and the Superman revival. You take that with a grain of salt. And the latest installments of the Final Destination and The Conjuring turned around the studio's fortunes, and those that have just re-upped DeLuca and Abdi. Alright? Yet debt, which was also an albatross during the years when AT&T owned Warner Media, is hampering investment. A restructuring in June took about $3 billion off their debt, but they also have $17 billion bridge loan, which is syndicated across Wall Street banks, which has not yet been refinanced. A well-placed finance chief told us of the math and risk. That's one of the critical reasons why they can't spin off the company yet with the cable properties and studio. 2 is that part of their debt plan, they have to monetize 20% of their spin companies, which is studios and streaming, which they expect to have a high value. If they don't get the value that they spend, they'll over leverage in the cable company, and it's all fraught with risk. So just with this article alone, it just suggests the fact is that Warner Brothers is the reason why I think they were in $45 billion in debt, and now they're in $35 billion in debt right now, because Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi, and I apologize to that woman for misquoting her name, because I do in other videos I said Pam Abdulin, and it's Pamela Abdi, so I apologize for that. But the article suggests the fact is that Warner Brothers, the reason why the debt's been reduced down to a little bit to $5 billion or so, I think it's due to the fact that they have predicted hits. And the summer hits that they have predicted, it took the risk to be able to calculate those risks are the same reasons why their contracts were renewed. It's also the same reason why the debt has gone down from that. So that's what's simplifying it. And on top of that, if we're not the only ones seeing this, that means that Wall Street seeing this, and Paramount Skydance is looking at this as the same way. And let me preface this before I read the next article. This is also, at the time of this, I think Paramount Skydance also countered with a second offer, because they turned down the $60 billion offer, and this is also going to tie into the second article as well. Alright, and this won't be so much as reading. Okay, so with new contracts for Warner Brothers motion picture chairs, Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi signed, sealed, and delivered, the still David Zaslav run Warner Brothers Discovery is truly poised for a purchase by David Ellison and Paramount. Coming off of a $4 billion box office year to date, DeLuca and Abdi are clearly among Warner Brothers Discovery's crown jewels and major assets for the Ellisons, which is more than you can say for Zaslav. With the duo re-upped, it's akin to Ellison buying a house and discovering a Warhol painting hanging out back. Alright, so to that, specifically, Ellison and his father, Larry Ellison, the second richest man, depending on what time of day it is, don't want to see a repeat of the prolonged, painful saga that marked Skydance's $8 billion acquisition of Paramount. Nor, with input from various private equity firms, do they want to step on landmines or find any surprises at the debt-heavy Warner Bros. Discovery. And they don't currently see a significant role for Zaslav in the newly merged mega studio. To be honest, studio sources tell us it will be very unlikely that Zaslav will want to hang around once the sale is complete, and tech guys like Larry Ellison want a clean sheet with no surprises. At most, right now, Zaslav could be looking at an offer of a board seat and perhaps a strategic advisor position, insiders inform us. When contacted by Deadline, reps for Paramount and Warner Bros. Discovery had no comment for any potential deal or more. Word around town is that Zaslav, enjoying his role at the head of Warner Bros. Discovery, was jockeying for some sort of grand poobah type position in any Warner Bros. Acquisition. Hence the reason why he's been trying to drum up bidders for the conglomerate other than Paramount. Read Netflix. So, these are my thoughts. What this article suggests is the fact is that Zaslav does not. He turned down a $60 billion offer, right? I don't know how much the second offer is. So he's using the fact is that he thinks he has performance to stand by to hold out to leverage against Paramount Skydance for him to be able to get a job out of this. And my question is, What is it about him that he thinks he did that he can actually include a job in the buyout to include it in the price in order to increase the price? What has he done? What are the performance metrics? There aren't any, because for what this article suggests, everybody knows what I've been saying for the most part. Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi are the crown jewels, is what the article suggests. They are the ones that make it appetizing, and if anybody's going to have a job, it's going to be those two. It's not going to be David Zaslav, and it's not going to be James Gunn. They do not have the metrics. Okay, so this also proves that the reason why they pointed them out, the article suggests to point them out specifically, is because of the fact of performance metrics. So if Superman is a success, why wouldn't they want to bring on James Gunn? That's the question. So for all the cultists who want to say, "Oh, James Gunn's doing a great job. He's gonna be there, and he's done everything with Superman." And my question to you is this: in what capacity, and how long? This proves it. The article already reads as follows. The fact is that these are the only two people that the Ellisons would want to be able to keep on board once they acquire Warner Bros. Discovery. And this proves that even all the attempts with Zaslav and James Gunn taking everything off HBO Max, putting Batgirl in a can when it costs $90 million to make, to get rid of the whole Snyderverse and closing the door on innovation and progression and success and millions to billions, turning everything down, and even breaking up Warner Bros. Discovery, which was his creation, and then broke it up to make it look good on paper. And what do you have to show for it? Nothing. He may not even have a job after this. And if he does have a job, he'll have it in a minimal capacity. And on top of that, doing all of this, he is going to be stuck somewhere where his advice won't be taken seriously, because even the article shows that he's bad at making decisions. He is bad. He has not lived up to his obligation to be able to make sure that his shareholders are able to profit from it. And the fact is, what he's been doing is putting the company even more in debt. So even bringing on James Gunn, you're still bleeding in cash, and you're still in the hole, whether or not, no matter how much money it took to make Superman. Okay? So this is proof that the Ellisons see the exact same thing that we see. And when they take possession, because I believe this deal is going to go through, they are very aggressive at doing it. And when they do, David Ellison is out and James Gunn is out. So this is proof. The fact is that they have not met the metrics and not made the burden of proof of showing the fact is that they deserve the job, nor have they made the performance metrics for them to be able to keep their jobs, let alone to make Warner Bros. Discovery appetizing. And on top of that, he's leveraging not only a job, but he's pretending like he's sitting on top, but the company is bleeding cash. It's still about $35 to $40 billion in debt. So the only thing that makes Warner Bros. Discovery attractive is the fact is that Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi, and the very fact that it has acquiring debt. So he's not in a position to turn down the offer. And correct me if I'm wrong, because this is not my area of expertise. But isn't it true that if you're a CEO, you have an obligation to go to your shareholders and to take the best offer in their interest? And if you hold out, it's like you're denying the best offer for them to be able to profit for it, because it's what's best for the company. So it's his obligation to make sure that he takes the offer that the shareholders are burdened to tell him to take. And he's not in the position to leverage his job in order to do so. So that sounds kind of personal and greedy, and it sounds like you're putting yourself before the company. I could be wrong about that. If anybody knows anything about that in a professional capacity, please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I believe that this article suggests the exact same thing as what I've been talking about. For the last 3 years, he has closed out every opportunity for the fans, the moviegoers. He's pretty much gotten rid of all the HBO Max is a smaller shell of itself of what it used to be. Content has been suppressed. He has not been, as far as him and James Gunn all together have pretty much brought the brand down, and the only saving grace of it is the film studio division separate from DC Studios, where they have made hit after hit after hit during the summer, right? And that's why they're labeled as the crown jewels, because that is really, apart from the property of it, the only people that will stay on board are the ones that actually have the actual talent that's able to make sure that they can be able to make money. And like I said before, Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi, they've been able to detect hits, and they take those risks because it's the experience, and they have the talent to be able to read the scripts in the store and to be able to know these are the stories that they should be focused on. It has paid off tremendously to the fact is that they've been singled out for when the buy takes over, that they may want to be able to stay on board once the Ellisons take over. But that's all I got so far. So if you like the content, please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment down below. Be respectful in the comments. I also want to be able to give a shout out to my followers and my subscribers. I try to do the best I can. We'll try to be able to bring content out there, but you know how life is. Everything unexpected throws a monkey wrench into everything, and I do appreciate you guys taking the time to read my content and being able to make sure that you can be able to get the next update that I can be able to provide. And I will try to be more consistent. Just be patient with me, and I really appreciate it. So again, until the next video, peace.